It all began one historic Saturday night.
NBC makes more money playing reruns of The Tonight Show. I mean, more than 90 minutes of live television by a group of 20-year-olds who have never made anything.
Okay, so this is a bit.
Because there's never been a television
This
show
is a
like
clip
this.
from Saturday Night, the new Saturday Night Live origin story from Jason Reitman that takes you inside the very first episode of the now legendary and decades-running show. We've teamed up with our friends at Sony to take a look at the new movie in select theaters now and releasing wide tomorrow. And to help us do that is, of course, Rad. Great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So real quick, I'm going to put up a QR code here on the screen. So you're going to scan this with your phone. It's going to take you right to a website where you can buy tickets to Saturday Night. So this all takes us back, Rad, 49 years ago, nearly to this day, which is really cool. October 11th, 1975. Yeah, I said that's almost 40 years ago. Hold that thought for a second. So that was the night SNL debuted.
Yeah.
So how does the movie capture that historic night?
Well, look, I mean, what the movie's trying to capture is this chaotic energy that is expressed in this famous Lorne Michaels quote, Lorne Michaels being the creator of SNL. And he said, the show doesn't go on because it's ready. The show goes on because it's 11:30, okay? And so anyone who has worked on anyone who's worked on the show, including, you know, the director of this movie, Jason Reitman, he worked in the writer's room once, they will tell you that, look, like right up until the last minute, like scripts are being rewritten, segments are being dropped, like costumes are still being stitched. And so this is all about how intense that would have been in the very first episode, like the very first premiere episode, how chaotic all of that would have been. And the movie basically takes the shape of a ticking clock thriller, where it's counting down those 90 minutes before airtime, where these 19-year-old hipster comedians are just who have no business in television are trying to put on a show that's going to change television.
How historically accurate is the movie?
It's really, you know, okay, so there's obviously dramatic license, right? As you'd expect, right? But all the stuff you see here is based in some truth, right? Like, because you have the shenanigans you have here is John Belushi refused to sign his contract right up until minutes before airtime, and that is factual. You know, there was fisticuffs. Well, the fisticuffs, Chevy Chase got into a fist fight, but that actually happened a few seasons later. But the tensions that caused that fist fight were there from the present. So they're kind of concentrating things that would have happened across SNL's coming of age story into these 90 minutes, including the tensions, including the way the writer's room hung Big Bird from Jim Henson's office cord wire because they disdained the Muppets and they would refuse to give Jim Henson scripts. Like those kinds of tensions, they're all rooted in some truth, but it's just concentrated in the 90 minutes.
Okay, so we see in this Lorne Michaels butt heads throughout the night with an NBC executive. This is played by Willem Dafoe. We're going to show you that.
Your actors are missing.
Have you seen John Belushi?
Your crew is in open rebellion.
Jesus Christ.
Your kids aren't ready for prime time.
Everyone down to the 8th floor now! That was kind of exciting. What do you think it was about SNL that ruffled just so many feathers when it debuted?
Well, there's a generational tension, a really significant generational tension at work here. Because if you think about it, it's 1975, right? This is the point where the counterculture is starting to peter out, right? And it's like, I mean, if you think about Hollywood and the movies, you know, the new Hollywood has already come in and taken over with Easy Rider and Francis Ford Coppola. And at this point, they're about to start serving the establishment with Jaws and Star Wars, right? And yet TV was still stuck in the 50s. In 1975, TV was still stuck in the 50s. The only reason these guys got a shot is because Johnny Cochran wanted a few days off. Not Johnny Cochran, sorry, Johnny Carson. Very different. So he just wanted a few days off. That's why these guys got a shot. You see Milton Berle still kind of hanging around, this old school 1950s personality, hanging around the studio like the ghost of TV past. And then comes in this new generation, these hipsters who are like, you know, they're raised on television. They, you know, they're bringing in the counterculture. They're brash. They don't censor themselves. So that's where all that tension comes from, and you see the confrontations in there.
There's a really cool Canadian connection. Like, obviously, this is in New York, but a lot of its roots are traced right back here within a few blocks of where we're sitting right now. So what is that?
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, SNL's creator, Lorne Michaels, is from Toronto. In fact, his first bid at like variety sketch show was at the CBC just a few blocks from here, where he had his the Hart and Lauren show, which is actually where he did the first edition of Weekend Update. He hosted the first edition of Weekend Update. Gilda Radner, he met her when she was performing at Second City just down the street that way, you know, and even like, you know, this movie's director, Jason Reitman, his dad, Ivan Reitman, was SNL adjacent because he made movies like Meatballs and Animal House and stuff that was like featuring a lot of SNL cast members. And he had his start here making sketch shows with Dan Aykroyd.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I've never seen SNL
Oh.
before, but I really want to see this movie now. Rod, thank you for your wrap.
Thanks for having me.
Saturday Night is in select theaters now and will be everywhere starting tomorrow. So make sure you scan the QR code. You can get your tickets right now. You don't want to miss this one. We'll be right back.
Your Morning is brought to you in part by Saturday Night, in theaters now.
If you liked that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.